Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a brand new movie review. This one is for 28 years later. Danny Boyle returns to the director's chair and Alice Garland penned the script. Not just that, but they have a whole trilogy in mind to where they have already said publicly if they get to that third movie, Gillian Murphy's character from the first movie, 28 Days Later, would then play a prominent role in that film. That's exciting. The story here is about a group of survivors of the rage virus live on a small island. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and the horrors. They have mutated not only the infected but other survivors. So with all this hype and buzz, did the movie itself end up delivering? Yes, 28 years later, does end up delivering big time back into this universe. Although I think it's going to be an unexpected return that a lot of people will end up being surprised with. 28 years later, going to be one of those sneaky movies that paint a picture and set expectations for a certain kind of film. And when you go and watch it, you're going to get that for about 20, maybe 30 minutes. And then the movie ends up becoming something else. And that's something else I was not bothered with at all. I loved this movie all throughout, and I was pleasantly surprised where things end up going with this movie and how the story came about. I do think though there will be some people that will not be as fond of it, especially if you were somebody, let's say like a Quiet Place Day One, and also found yourself a little mismarketed with that movie, and they painted the picture of something, then going to see it, you end up getting a more deep, dark, provoking movie about embracing life and accepting death. This movie has the same case here. This movie focuses a lot on characters. Aaron Taylor Johnson plays a father named Jimmy who's been preparing his son for the world that's out there. And I was really fond of their dynamic. Alfie Williams, who plays Spike in the movie, is the real big standout here and the MVP of the entire film. A lot of this movie is put on his shoulders, and the kid does a fantastic job. He wants to make his dad proud. He knows he has to do to survive, but there's a couple of things he's hesitant on. Also, being raised in quarantine and not really knowing much about the outside world makes him a bit naive and ambitious at times. And I thought that was the whole movie that we're going to get. Is this kind of a father and son story of they leave their village for a bit to go to a supply hunt, find some things, test the ropes with the zombies, something goes wrong, and they're stuck there for the entire movie. Will then be about them trying to return to their village, where not exactly. That is not the only, that is like the first 20 to 30 minutes of the movie. From there, it takes this unexpected turn that I was kind of a throwback by. I was kind of a like, okay, I did not see this coming at all. And while the movie still is suspenseful and doesn't hold back from filling you in on what's shame with this 28 years later with zombies, the movie ends up becoming more of an emotional story. Let's say like a coming of age story. It's a very uplifting story. And maybe this is just the route they had to take with this story, because really, what else could you do with the zombie franchise? The first film is significant and influential for reinvigorating the love of zombie films, and then having a whole bunch of other movies follow in its footsteps. Now, with the oversaturation marker of this genre, there's not really that much new in terms of the zombie. You do have outdated zombies here. They have this thing called alphas, which they're like powerhouse gigantic zombies. They have bloaters. They just like crawl around. It was like little nuggets of interesting things. And even when watching the movie, knowing they had like a plain strategy in mind, Once you get like towards the end of the movie or things are wrapping up, you can feel the nuggets of where maybe they want to explore and expand on the world. Because so far with these three films, we have very much stayed within the quarantine area. And for the one we know of this universe, is like a lot of people outside of the quarantine were are living perfectly fine, perfectly happy, and you get a taste of that in this movie. I guess maybe that's where I would like the other entries to go and explore that. Other standout things, maybe you know this, but this is a movie that was shot entirely on iPhones. And I think that is just great. A great way to kind of come full circle with the way the first movie was shot. It for sure adds a lot of personality to the movie, but at no times does it feel cheap. In fact, this looks beautiful compared to a lot of modern day blockbusters. I would say like the special effects, the CGI at moments it feels very much noticeable and stand out though, and maybe that's where you just have to do. Maybe it was because they were filming with iPhone cameras, but it looks a bit weird, the visual effects at times. But there's also a really unique thing this movie does multiple times that I much prefer than what 28 weeks later tried to do. Because in that movie, they tried to do some art shaky cam, quick editing style to match the chaotic energy of the first movie, and it ended up just making some scenes real horrible. In this one, Danny Boyle is experimenting, trying new things, and there's like this Snapchat thing that he does, and you know it when you see it. It happens like 10 times throughout the movie, and each time is pretty cool. I would say that some people may walk out disappointed because the movie is incredible, but it traces a lot of scares and horror for more emotional and character driven arcs. And I think there are things they only give you a taste of. They will have I would have loved to then to explore more. But it feels like a setup for the next couple of movies. One of the things is Ralph Fiennes' character, Ian Curson. He plays this doctor. He was probably one of the most fascinating new characters in this world, and I just wanted to spend a little more time with him, get to know him a bit more about what makes him tick. And maybe they do plan to give us that in the next couple of movies because I needed more of that character. It was such a cool character. I was also happy for Eric Taylor Johnson's because this movie is definitely redeeming everything that happened to him in Kraven the Hunter. But because of the turn in the story here, he's actually not that unimportant of a character throughout a lot of this movie. You also don't get to spend a lot of time with his character either. But Judy Comer's performance in this movie is magnificent, haunting, and beautiful. It's a level of work that deserves to be in the conversation for a Best Supporting Actress nomination because she's phenomenal here. I'm super excited for this franchise to continue, so I cannot wait for the other movie that comes out at the beginning of next year.